Hi all, welcome back to Beanie Composter. I've had a few people on the channel mentioning about their leachate, that their composters are just not producing any. So today's video is going to be quick, but we're going to look at the leachate that you're getting from your composter and why are you not getting any this time of the year. I'll give you a little bit of waffling, a story of what's been happening with me. You know, this summer has been exceptionally warm and no rainfall, but I am running both of my Hotbins pretty much similar with the same sort of feeds, and although I'm doing an experiment in the Mini with no bulking agent at the moment, it's still, you know, getting all the vegetable peelings and the garden trimmings, so the moisture should definitely be there. And I am getting stuff out of the Mark 1, which you'll see in a moment, but the Mini just doesn't seem to be producing any leachate at all. So, you know, I'm going to have a look and see if we can, you know, come to a conclusion why the, you know, the Mark 2 isn't, you know, producing any leachate compared to the Mark 1. But enough of that waffling, let's get down to business. In Surrey it's been exceptionally warm, dry, and it's been quite windy, so that obviously, you know, evaporates some of the leachate, and you know, that's maybe one reason why you're not producing so much. But this is our Mark 1 here, and if you look at the leachate that we're getting out of here, it's not tons, but you know, we still are getting some coming out every few days. You know, I can collect a bit. I'm going to show you how we're running inside, what temperature we're at. I do need to probably empty it a little bit just to get the temperature back up, but we're still midway in the green, so I'll show you what's going on with that as well. So I gave it a feed yesterday. All that paper around the top is just because I prefer to do it that way without mixing it all in when it's so sort of, this is the almost like spaghetti one, which is just, you know, clumps together if you don't do it, you know, if you try and mix it in all together. But it's hard to see there, but we are, you know, we are hot composting midway. I'll give it a stir up so you can see, you know, how wet we are. So not wet at all, but we are, you know, nice and hot composting. I do need, as I'm saying, I do need to empty this so we can probably get a bit more airflow into it, but we're still, you know, doing quite well, and not dry, but not wet at all. So, but we are still producing, you know, little bits of leachate every few days out of this one. At the moment I'm just collecting it, and we are doing an experiment at the moment, which is Leachate versus Miracle-Gro. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, then you won't miss that video when it comes out later in the year. So that's going to show you whether Leachate is better than Miracle-Gro or vice versa. But you'll see the video later on in the year. So I'm putting everything into this one that I am into the larger one, but just without the bulking agent. So I'm still putting paper as well, and I'll show you in a moment how we're running inside of here. But every time I go and take this screw cap off, nothing seems to come out, and I haven't done it for a little while, so let's have a look what's happening now. You kind of expect as soon as you undo this, it's just going to flood out with leachate, but there you go guys, drier than the Sahara Desert. So nothing coming out. So the Mini is actually a little bit hotter than the larger one, and I fed them both yesterday. Obviously we've got different size probes in each one. That's got the smaller one, but I'll give it a stir around. You can see what's going on. There's no bulking agent going in this one. We are quite warm, and once again, when we are dry, but we're no different really to the one, its bigger brother next door. So it's not bone dry. I'm not putting tons of paper in there, and I kind of think that with the steam that's coming out, and the fact that the mixture isn't bone dry, I would expect to be getting some sort of leachate coming out of there. If you've got one of these Hotbins, you'll know how light they are. And the Mini, one thing I've found about it, it can be a little bit unstable when you give it a good old stir around if there's not a lot in there. So for that reason, it's quite good that I'm going to be able to tilt this up. So I'm going to see if any leachate is in there at all. So I'm going to tilt it up and we'll see. If I look around, the bottom, around all the sides and that, there's no signs of any leachate coming out from anywhere else. Excuse me. Like I sort of said on a few messages that people said they weren't getting leachate, I was questioning whether they had like a hole maybe, or this bit here, there was an issue where these were a bit loose in the initial ones, and I think you actually put them on yourself when it came from the actual Hotbin company, but mine isn't loose, and there's no sign of any leakage coming out of the bottom there. That was one of the things I thought initially, that maybe the Hotbin was just depositing the leachate out of other areas rather than coming out of the actual tap bit. That's not the case, so let's tilt it up and see if we've got any leachate at all in here. Anything coming out? Mm-mm. Oh, there's no leachate going underneath, is there?
No. There's some fungi.
Any leachate? Hello? I tilted it as much as I could. Unfortunately the garage wall's in the way, so I couldn't tilt it any further than that. But you saw there, still nothing. You kind of would expect the amount I was tilting it there, you would have some sort of drips coming out, but not even, one single drip. So, let's have a light think of what's going on here, and I'll give you my conclusion. As Toya Wilcox, I think, said, it's a mystery. Now, as everyone knows, I've got the looks, Mrs. B has got the brains. So we've been doing a bit of discussion as into why this is happening, and we keep discussing things. But one thing you need to remember is the Mark II is actually tapered, so the leachate should be going to that unscrewing tap quicker than the Mark I. And although the Mark I is bigger, it's probably producing a little bit more leachate than the Mark II, and because I've got a mini and a big one, it's not really a great comparison, but it just shows you that I'm having problems getting leachate out of the Mark II as well. Please if anyone on the channel that's watching this is having the same sort of problems, let us know what your theories are on it and how you think, you know, where you're living, sort of the temperatures, the weather, whether that's affecting whether you're getting any leachate this time of the year. Please leave comments that we can look at, that, you know, the channel and the community that watch these videos can sort of do a bit of research into, because I know this is like a subject that people are sort of interested in this time of year. So Mrs. B's got the looks and the brains. I'm just the dumb one that does the composting. But she's going to explain what she thinks is going on, and like I say, if you've got any theories, please leave them in the comments down below, because, you know, there must be some people with the same sort of experience that's going on as I'm getting with the Mini. What do you reckon's going on then?
I think the big one, because it's twice the size, it produces twice as much leachate. Well, it should produce twice as much leachate. But because this time of year is really hot, you are not putting too much of the wet stuff. We don't eat more, like lots of watermelons or citrus fruits. Maybe that's why it doesn't produce huge amount anyway. So if both of them are producing little amounts, and the smaller one produces half of the amount anyway, then it isn't enough to stay in a form of a liquid. Could it be?
Yeah, but you would still have some leachate there. Surely when you tip it up, there would be something.
Yeah, but when you you didn't tip. When you showed the big one, you only had maybe 2-3 full spoons of leachate, didn't you? So from the small one, if we think about it, you would have half of this amount. So what, a teaspoon? So it's easy for it to be just spread along the bottom and not come out.
Maybe.
That's what I think. Plus it is running hot, so it's evaporating. So it's in a form of a gas, more, or the mist maybe. When you lift the top, you've got the mist coming out. Maybe it's just not enough liquid to come out of the tub. It's maybe smearing the bottom, and that's it. Nothing's coming out. It's like at the bottom of the carpool for the kids. You tip it over, and you wait for an hour for it to actually drip when you don't have enough. So it might be the same effect. You just need to put more wet stuff maybe, and less paper, and then see what happens.
Well, guys,
I don't know.
I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm in the process of doing the experiment, like I said, with no bulking agent. Once that comes to some sort of conclusion, then I think I'm going to empty out the whole hot bin and we'll see what is in the bottom, and hopefully that'll be before the end of summer, and we'll sort of see what's been going on in that time. But this is just a little video of what's going on with the leachate for us at the moment, because, you know, I know a few of you have mentioned it. So like I say, hope this video has helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time,
Happy composting.
That was great, wasn't it?
You.
That's that one done then.